Testing. Yes, that works. So, thank you for coming this evening. Many of you saw this announcement. Here's Mr. Chuck Reynolds. People are still coming in, so I'm just, hopefully we're going to have a good conversation this evening. But we were asked, Chuck and myself, I'm Linda Dahlmeyer, the mayor of the city of Oroville, for at least another week. And I was privileged to be able to stand here because I actually had a thought about wanting to give one last speech, and it mainly had to do with thanking my community for everything that they've done. And especially during this past 7 weeks, what has happened in this area, in our sister community, I want to specifically speak about Oroville right now. After November 8th, and when the fire started, the county called the Oroville Hope Center and asked them if they would be the receiving station for all the donations that would start coming in. And our community stepped up to the plate. Not only did they step up, but they went above and beyond. Some of the individuals are the entities or the nonprofits that I would like to personally thank that came to mind, and I was trying really hard as I was working this evening to get here to write all the names down, but the first ones that come to me is the Oroville Hope Center, Stephanie and Larry Hayden, and all of their employees, and everybody that volunteered their time for them. The Father's House, Steve and Vicki Orsillo and the Devines that stepped up to the plate. The New Life Church in Kenny Malone, River of Life Church, their entire staff and church members opened their church. Both of the churches opened their churches for overflow evacuation. Oro Naz served as one of the Red Cross, not to mention all the volunteers that worked there. Jeff Wahlberg and his crew, I don't know if anybody saw some of the pictures of what had happened in Chico at the Toys R Us store and the Walmart parking lots. Well, we actually had that starting here, and if it weren't for Jeff Wahlberg and his crew, that they went around and made sure that all bags that had been put into the parking lot because of the overflow were picked up daily. So we didn't have that issue, but he has gone and found places to have that stored for when there is a need in the community or in the region. The rescue mission, which is always stepping up to the plate, is not only help, shelter, but feed. Not to mention the LDS Church that came out and not only delivered supplies, but helped. And I can't even begin to tell you how many more individuals or entities that stepped up to the plate. But most importantly, it's been our community as a whole. People that worked at the receiving station are receiving for the donations and or the warehouse or the distribution center. The city of Oroville opened the municipal auditorium, and it's still being used today. They've actually served over 20,000 people through the municipal auditorium. And on certain days, we've had up to 800 volunteers from our community alone. People taking their own time off of work, vacation time, family leave time to make sure that we're helping our sister community of Paradise and the surrounding area. Not only did they step up, but they continue to do so. So, as the outgoing mayor, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to our community for doing what they've done. The fire may be out, but the road to recovery is going to be long. We've already stepped up to the plate. Tonight we're here to listen, to ask questions, and to give feedback, and to voice our concerns about the proposed project. Whether this is the right side or not is yet to be determined. I'm going to ask that you be respectful because I know some of these public meetings in the past have not been as respectful as I think they could be. And I know my community has really, has a heart and wants to do the right thing. I know that we can all come together and get through this, but I want Paradise and Concal and Polka and the other communities to know that we're here for them. And we're going to do whatever we can to do our part to see them through. But as your mayor, as your current mayor, I want to thank you and our community as a whole for helping in this crisis so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Chuck Reynolds, your mayor-elect of Oroville. And I think that anyone who's lived in Oroville for a significant amount of time has ties to this piece of property. And I think that we probably all lost a family member or knew someone who did. And so we do have concerns, but I'll tell you, you know, as your representatives, as your leaders, we've set these meetings and we ask the hard questions. And a lot of the questions that you have already been answered. And so I hope that tonight by asking them yourselves, you will get your own answers. But you know, the soil has been tested. We're not sending anybody into a chemical war zone. And I'll tell you, the city has no skin in this game. There's nothing, no benefit for the city. They're not getting paid, but we do get to create jobs. And I just happen to believe that there's quite a few people that are out of work right now. Maybe not in Oroville, but Paradise was decimated, and there are people that are looking for work. Nobody wants to put anybody in harm's way. We definitely have your best interests at heart. I'm not, you know, I'm not swaying one way or another. I'm listening to the facts, and if this will create work, then I would be interested in it. There is no hazardous debris coming this way. It's concrete and metal, all recyclable materials. All the hazardous debris is being hauled, bagged up, and hauled to another location, and nowhere near Oroville. It's headed down south. But we have to be by a rail car. That's why this site was considered. There were other sites, but they're not on a railroad spur. So that's why this was taken into consideration. I just want to let you know that we're here to represent you. There's no backstory, there's no hidden agenda here. We simply want to help our neighbor. And that's what's going on. We've been through a horrific tragedy. Everyone has played their part in this, and some of them made the ultimate sacrifice. They lost not only all of their things, their homes, but family members as well. Here in Oroville, we certainly saw quite a bit of the devastation, but it hasn't been anything like that. And if we haven't seen anything like they did. If we can help them clean up their homes and their towns and not bring harm to anyone, then I would have to consider it. So I just ask that you keep an open mind, be respectful, and please ask the hard questions. Don't be afraid to ask them. These people will answer them, but please be respectful while you do it. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Lamoureux. I'm the senior state official in charge of the disaster recovery operations for the state here in Butte County. I'm assigned here with my team, supporting a number of areas. And one of the biggest responsibilities we've got, in addition to working with our partners at FEMA to find housing for individuals, is to return the properties throughout Butte County and the town of Paradise that have been lost back to those homeowners so they can begin the process of rebuilding. So I I appreciate having the opportunity and appreciate the hospitality that the city has shown us to give us this opportunity to share some information and listen to your concerns and hopefully address many questions that you may have tonight about what this site means to our overall effort to clean up more than 18,000 properties that have been lost. So throughout Butte County and the town of Paradise, as you all are well aware, I'm sure many of you in this room have friends or family that were affected by this disaster, and I am sorry, I can't begin to appreciate what you and your friends and family are going through, but I do know what it takes from the state and federal government for us to be able to help Butte County and the town of Paradise get on a path to rebuilding and recovery as quickly as possible. And in order to get to that point, get to that place, we need to remove the ash and debris from these 18,000 structures that have been lost, most of which, as you all are well aware, is mostly homes throughout this area. You know, we've got currently throughout Northern California, even down into Southern California, more than 20,000 individuals who have been displaced. They've lost their homes, they've lost their businesses, they've lost their place of work, their place of worship, the school for their children. And our job is to collectively, as county, the town, state, and federal government, come together to figure out how can we get those folks back to a place where they can begin the process of rebuilding. And that begins with obviously creating a safe environment for folks to be able to come back to, removing the ash and debris from those home sites. And so that's our focus of attention here tonight. We are working collectively, the town, the county, the state, and federal government, to develop what is the best strategy. And that strategy is built on essentially two phases. First phase is the cleanup of all the household hazardous wastes that are on each and every one of these properties. So cleanup of the propane tanks, the lead batteries, containers with liquids that are still in them. And the U.S. EPA and the Department of Toxic Substances Control is already well underway in that process. More than 4,500 properties throughout Butte County and the town of Paradise have already had household hazardous waste removed. So phase one is well underway. We felt when we started it almost a month ago that it was going to be about 4 to 6 months, and we're already tracking to some degree a little bit ahead of schedule in some places. So we're excited about that. What we've got coming up behind us, though, is phase two, the most extensive part of this cleanup. And that is the removal of the rest of the contaminated ash and concrete and metals from all those residential sites and commercial sites. And so when we undertake that operation is going to take the better part of 12 months, and it's going to start in late January. It's going to include the segregation at each one of these burn sites of the concrete and metal. And all of that concrete and metal gets rinsed there at the site and gets transported to a location where it will be processed. Where the metal will be shredded, the concrete will be ground down, and either left here in the community or transported out of the community. And that's the part that we're still working through. We're talking tonight about the Copper's Mine site, but there's a number of other local operations that we're also looking at. Cow Cycle, the state agency that we mission tasked to conduct this debris removal operation, is looking at more than a half dozen sites throughout Butte County, here in Oroville and throughout Butte County, that may augment an operation at the Copper's site. It could potentially replace an operation there. It could be sites that we utilize in addition to what we're proposing to do at the Copper site. So nothing's off the table at this point. The purpose of being here tonight is this is a location where we may have to set up an operation to handle the processing of concrete and handling of metals, but we may be looking at additional sites as well. And so your input is going to be tremendously valuable to this process and helping us understand what the unique circumstances are with this property that we may not have already considered, so that we can tailor our operation to meet that. As I said, this is going to be about a 12-month operation. It's going to probably be the most sophisticated debris removal operation that the state's ever seen. With the removal of nearly 19,000 structures, it's going to require tremendous work from contractors from probably throughout the entire western U.S., local contractors and ones from even further out, that we're going to need to mobilize in here to potentially have upwards of 200 contractors at a time working throughout the entire Vernon area to try to meet our metric of getting this cleanup done within that 12-month time frame. And so obviously collaboration, cooperation is really key, and understanding the communities that we're working within and what the unique circumstances are of those communities is critically important. So I can't say enough, and I mean this with all sincerity, how much we appreciate all of you coming out here tonight to talk with us, to listen to us, to share your issues and concerns. And like I said, my hope is that between myself and my partners, Federal Emergency Management Agency, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, we'll be able to address all of your questions here tonight and take that valuable input and use it to tailor our operation moving forward. So appreciate everybody being here.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I also want to extend my thanks for your participation in tonight's event. It's these types of events where we can structure and get our feedback to ensure that we are hearing and understanding the concerns of the community. My name is Brian Brown, and I'm serving as the Deputy Federal Coordinating Officer with FEMA for this wildfire.
Can't hear him.
I want to offer a few
Somebody has
comments
to tell him to
before we
put the-
transition into the main briefing by Army Corps of Engineers. First off, in our opening comments, I can actually echo what I've seen here as far as all my disasters and deployments that I've worked on. The best operation is usually executed locally. And your leadership, both at the town, county, and state government, shows that execution. It shows that professionalism and the amount of talent that's been dedicated to help and assist with the community, Butte County's recovery in the community of Paradise and surrounding communities regarding their recovery efforts. We know that many of the Butte County residents are counting on disaster assistance, both local, state, volunteer, donations, and of course the federal government. And when disasters get to the level of magnitude what we have faced here with the wildfires, that's when the federal government gets engaged through a major disaster declaration. So what I'd like to do is just provide a quick overview of some of the assistance that we have provided thus far as a direct result of support for Butte County. As of this morning, FEMA has approved nearly $48 million in grants to individuals. That $48 million is helping over 6,175 Butte County residents or families that have registered. Our partners, Small Business Administration, through the Office of Disaster Assistance, has approved over $241 million in low-interest loans statewide, and for the county, and for Butte County specifically, $216 million. So there's a lot of by the fires. But what I'd like to highlight is that we also provide other assistance, and that assistance is through what we call a mission assignment process, and that's where me acting as the CEO, I have the ability to task or mission assign other federal agencies to provide what we call direct federal assistance. In this case, the state of California came to me asking for potential support for the very large debris mission that was highlighted by Eric's comments. So with that being said, what we do, we reach out to our federal partners who are best suited to address those, in this case, the debris for phase 2. We work with Army Corps on several disasters and assistance regarding removal and disposal of debris. And another example, which was highlighted in Eric's comments, we've also mission assigned EPA or the Environmental Protection Agency to assist with the removal of household hazardous waste. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to transition this briefing over to Lieutenant Colonel Hoffman. So he can basically highlight what this proposed solution is. And again, this is a proposed solution. This is one of many that we're seeking. And that way we can begin to solicit and get the feedback on this site. So with that said, I'd like to turn it over to Lieutenant Colonel.
Thank you, Ryan and Eric. Good evening. My name is Lieutenant Colonel David Coffers with the Army Corps of Engineers, and it's an honor to be here tonight to support the state of California and our partners with the Federal Emergency Management Agency. We're here to listen. We're grateful to the leaders and citizens of Oroville and Butte County for all you're doing in the wake of the Camp Fire. I'm here tonight to describe the Corps of Engineers portion of the debris removal operations in support of the recovery of the town of Paradise and others affected by the fire. Our role is to establish a temporary debris handling facility that will facilitate the state's debris mission removal by providing a location for staging, reducing, transporting non-hazardous material, concrete and metal, for recycling and further disposition. The main factors in selecting a site to accomplish this effort included available acreage, haul distance and time from Paradise, proximity to rail transit, impacts to residents, commercial interests, and the environment. And given these factors, the site of the former coppers in Oroville is being considered for establishing a temporary debris processing facility to support the state's debris handling efforts. The intent of this operation is to handle non-hazardous debris from the impacted area. In all of our operations, safety is first and foremost our top priority. Prior to transporting the non-hazardous debris, the state of California, through Cal OES, will rinse the ash from the debris to ensure the ash does not fall during transit, and batteries and other potential harmful materials from burned vehicles will be removed. Once on site, the Corps will be responsible for sorting the debris into appropriate categories to include concrete, masonry, vehicle hulls, and other metals. Any hazardous materials that happen to be discovered in this process will be properly addressed, contained, and disposed of properly. I want to call your attention to the photo behind us. This is a depiction of the copper site and what the activities that will occur or plan to occur on that site. Just because we have a particular route or arrows or locations doesn't necessarily mean that that is where that activity will occur. But I do want to call your attention to the primary entrance and the primary exit at the top and bottom. And both of those are right turns into and out of the facility, avoiding the left turn lane crossover traffic. So a little bit of history on the copper site. The history of the copper site as part of the EPA Superfund program was a large factor in generating our environmental assessment, and we're taking appropriate measures. In 2003, after 19 years of cleanup, the copper site was certified to meet U.S. EPA standards for commercial and industrial use. In the last 5-year review by U.S. EPA, which was issued just in September 26th of this year, no issues or negative findings were identified. This report is available on the EPA website, and it is also in addition to our environmental assessment, which is on our website. A deed restriction requires on-site not influence groundwater, which includes allowing pooled water on the ground. Straw, bales, and other controls will be put in place to prevent runoff, and there will also be no excavation. Any leveling that will need to be done will be done with clean fill dirt brought on site. Our considered operations are consistent with the deed restrictions. In addition, we're in discussions with the Environmental Protection Agency and the California Department of Toxic Substance Control as part of this effort to ensure compliance with the deed restriction and address any of their concerns. Operations of this scale, as we know, create noise, light, dust, and it's therefore imperative that we put in place the right mitigation measures to minimize these impacts. The Corps will conduct ground sampling, air monitoring, and surveillance prior to operating the facility to create a solid baseline. We'll also conduct monitoring during operations, and this monitoring will include personnel monitoring on site to meet OSHA standards, site perimeter monitoring, community monitoring in the vicinity of the facility to assess any potential impacts, and the Corps will plan to sample and analyze periodic samples of concrete to ensure that there is not any asbestos or any other hazardous materials. And further, air quality monitoring for asbestos is included in the facility operations. Additionally, air monitoring will determine if fugitive dust from the facility operations impact residents, and additional mitigation will be established if necessary. Upon completion of all of this work, testing will be performed to ensure that no changes to the site have occurred and it will be returned to the original condition. In closing, we are extending the public comment on the environmental assessment until Thursday, January 3rd, 2019. We're all here tonight to hear directly from you, the community, and I hope that some of the information we presented helps to inform you as to how we may conduct these operations. Now, before we open it up for questions, there are 2 microphones up here. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes so other people have a chance to talk. I will turn it back over to Eric to introduce him.
Thanks. Before we get to the question and answer session, I wanted to introduce Congressman Doug Malta, who's joined us here tonight.
Eric, thank you, and for everybody gathered here, appreciate it. Lieutenant Colonel, appreciate you seeing here as well. Everybody, I hope your holiday season has been fulfilling so far, and I'm glad to have us all here tonight to be able to get more information out on what's happening. So a lot of things in action here, but what we see is that indeed the handling of the material that's going to come out of Paradise is going to be a challenge. But all of our neighboring communities are stepping forward to help whatever way they can. We've seen that. Oroville has been a big partner in that, and so I want to pass that bit of thanks on to the people, the community of Oroville, my hometown, for being part of that as well. So we see proposals here, and what I want to commend these folks, these gentlemen and their agencies for is that they've been listeners on the concerns that have been brought forward here. What you heard about the last couple of weeks was that there's an initial proposal for this material to be taken into an area in South Chico. And just from a practical matter, it isn't like, well, Chico doesn't want it, we're going to stick it on Oroville. No, it isn't that. Really, it would have been, although, a good concept, a good idea, in practicality, the traffic flows, the issues they would have had in that area would have been very, very detrimental to that part of town there. And so I think we would all agree that if it's going to be harmful to, we don't care which town it is, we would want to do it that way. So they listened and they responded with different alternatives for the handling of this material. And so that's a really good sign, and that shows it's a good process. So what we do see here with this South Oroville industrial area is an ideal zone to be handling these materials. And let's underline, this isn't the hazardous materials. Those will already be off the table and out of the area before we even get into this. And we're talking about things such as those issues, those things that burn on site, where you would have hazardous things, kitchen supplies, or batteries, or fuel tanks, things like that that are in a home. those will already be removed, as well as the harmful ash that could be found on a site like that. That's already off the table, as was emphasized. So we're getting down to basically the bigger issues on volume is going to be the metal products that come from either a roof or the frames of homes, and the concrete, and other incidentals that are going to be in the process. Of course, you have vehicles as well. And so there's a good plan to be handling all of it. So what I'd like to see continue to happen is keep the discussion open for what would be the most beneficial and least impactful way of doing this. And the metal is going to have to be railed out of here. There's really no way to handle the metal other than have it go somewhere else where people can handle and reprocess metal. But there's ideas on the table for the concrete, and I'd like to work with these gentlemen more on that as we go along with, by volume, I guess by not so much by weight, but by number of truckloads. I imagine the concrete just be taken in, hazarding to guess, might be 2/3 or 3/4 of the number of truckloads, but I don't really know that, but it's going to be a lot. And so we do have aggregate companies, gravel yards basically, that are willing to come forward on this. And so I hope we can continue to look hard at those and how that logistically can work. We're having a safety material going, but there's one on Upper and Lower Skyway, Neal Road, and Clark Road, and others that I don't even know about. I think they can handle some of this concrete and keep it closer to home, because this aggregate material will be needed in the rebuilding of Paradise as well. So I would hope personally that should this be able to work through, it doesn't have to all be railed out of here, and the amount of traffic that has to come all the way down completely away from Paradise, whether it's this area or other locations, can be mitigated by reusing that material close to and keeping it close to home to begin with, where we need it again. But there's logistical issues, there's practical issues, and there's handling issues with that. But indeed, what we have is a listening, open process on that, and I feel pretty good about it. It will be a good conclusion. So, but when you look it over, my staff and I, we toured that area here a week and a half ago, whatever it was, and looked over Coffers and adjacent property in Louisiana Pacific there. And there's a lot of good ways to go there with the handling of this. And some of it is all weather there. We have the rock piles where we really wouldn't have an issue with mud. It's just continued rain. Hopefully there's more rain, but that's a different story. So, as we keep going along, I know we have a good working process here that's going to work for the best for everybody. And indeed will be beneficial, I think, to this area well, in terms of Oroville being part of the jobs market here for that, and putting Oroville more and more on the map for being able to continue to develop and have this industrial area of Oroville being seen as a bigger place and a bigger role in future discussions. So, on the federal level, you're hearing about the food fight in Washington, D.C. over this, they call it a shutdown. Now, know this, in the previous actions, the Congress and the White House have worked together to get 75% of the government funded in previous appropriations bills. So now we're down to 25% in what's still being held up out there. And we put forth a bill out of the U.S. House of Representatives last week before the Christmas break. They got sent over to the Senate. And so we're waiting for the Senate to take up the bill. Importantly, it had those spending items in it that are, again, the final 25% of the federal budget process. But we included in that, importantly, I think, is a key component, the continued funding of our disasters for that are the funding that's needed around the country. So California fires are included in that. It hasn't all been awarded to divvied up, but it indeed sets the base for longer-term funding to make sure that we don't run short of dollars later on. Now, there is dollars in the pipeline for FEMA already, so there's no immediate problem because of this budget battle, this food fight going on in Washington, D.C. There's anywhere from $25 to $38 billion, is my understanding, in that pipeline still. So we're going to be fine for now, but we want to be able to plan farther ahead. And our southern neighbors, too, have suffered through the hurricanes. They need much more immediate relief because it's holding up some of the things they need to do with agriculture. And so we want to get instant results. Unfortunately, it looks like it's going to take the swearing in of the new Congress on January 3rd to get this behind us here and hopefully get started once again. There's political concerns and, the speakership of the House and other standoffs that are going on in this. But know that we fought in that last bill before we adjourned. Disaster funding was augmented for the southern needs for the hurricane zone, so we have allies there, as well as California's fire needs. But take away from this is there's no immediate problem because there's still a good amount of dollars in to see through the operations we need to be doing in the next several months in this Paradise area situation. So I can't think of much else right now to add to that, so thank you. I'll stick around if you have a little bit of questions for me as well, but we are battling through this together, and I thank the people of Oroville and surrounding areas for being this great neighbor you are in all the different aspects, for providing space, resources, and then a little patience it's going to take for all of us to work through. My whole thing is that we spread this, I don't want to call it pain, but spread the aid evenly. You know, Brittany's going to step up and take some of the FEMA spaces that are required down there for, I think, 350 homes down there. And so this is being scattered around some of the help for people in Paradise. Everybody's taking a part of the burden, yet, as they say, like many hands make light work. And so hopefully we can spread this around, and it'll help our neighbors up there just as they would help us, as we've seen in the past with the spillway, the car fires, and many other things that go on, and who knows in the future. So thank you all. God bless you. Have a safe New Year.
Okay, thank you, Congressman. Okay, with that, we've got about an hour and 20 minutes to hear from all of you. So what I'd ask, we don't have anybody officially timing folks, and hopefully we don't have to do that. So I just ask you to be as concise with your remarks as you can, your questions. We're going to attempt at, for those of you, we understand some of you are just going to be sharing information with us. You don't have a question, but you want to make sure that we're aware of it. If there are specific questions that we can address, one of the three of us is going to work to do that. We're not going to be taking copious notes up here on the stage, but please know that there are staff assigned to us that are here in the room making notes of the comments that are being made. I believe there's a recording being made. We're not live streaming, but there's a recording being made of the session tonight so that we can go back and listen to all those comments. So with that, we've got microphones left and right here on the main aisles. So if folks want to queue up behind those microphones, we're just going to alternate left to right. And we're going to go as long as we need to, or until 8 o'clock. I don't think we have to be on here. So with that, go ahead and get started over here.
My name is Linda Draper, Oroville resident, member of the Oroville City Council as well. And many of us have concerns about ash in vehicles and also on metal. And this area has the highest pancreatic cancer rates in the state of California. We are real concerned. We've had 3 or 4 Superfund cleanup sites here, and Coppers is one of them. And so there are many of us who are concerned about that aspect, as well as I have heard that there will be trucks going through every 1 to 3 minutes from 8 in the morning till 6 p.m., 6 days a week. So that's also a concern. Trucks coming down from Paradise with dust blowing off the debris is another concern. And so my question is, why isn't this being done in the Paradise area, which would seem to be the logical place to do it? Someone has suggested Neal Road, that area, as a possibility. Thank you.
Thanks for that. So, Neal, I'll try to, if you could stay there for a moment in case I forget one of the questions you asked. First, Neal Road, we're working with the county. There's going to be a number of folks that are going to do cleanup on their own, and we're looking to utilize Neal Road landfill to take that ash and debris from those private cleanups. And so we're going to be utilizing landfills outside of Butte County for the ash and debris. And you raised some important questions on ash and debris coming out of trucks. So that's something, our program, we've been running it for about 11 years now across California, started in South Lake Tahoe in 2007. And we run very stringent controls on all the debris that gets transported. So the ash and debris, that's not the material that's coming, would potentially be coming to this site. That all gets burrito wrapped in a dump truck. So it's completely sealed and contained so that no ash and debris is blown out of the truck. commence the decon at the site where the burn occurred, and then it's collected and put in a truck that is also tarped so that there's no debris if there is anything remaining that blows out of the truck with the concrete and metal. We also will set up air monitors at the site where the cleanup's being done, and at critical points, a lot of our school locations throughout what we call our haul route, so that we can regularly be checking air quality. Even with all the mitigation measures we put in place, we still continue to do the air monitoring on the haul route. And then your final question, a good question we get a lot about, why can't we do all of this up on the hill in Paradise? And obviously, for those folks that have been up into Paradise, very constrained area, not a lot of room for, right now we've got utility crews, tree crews, we're going to have debris crews, and there's not a large footprint to also do a segregation operation like this. So what we're trying to do, not only in Paradise, but in Concow and Yankee Hill and Butte Creek, is get all the ash and debris either to a landfill or to a site like this for the concrete and metal where we process that.
I just read an article in the New York Times from 2017 and said that from the California wildfires, that the ash and the debris and the contaminants are very similar to what they experienced in New York City with 9/11. And there was a landfill that had received ash and debris where it leached into the soil and water. So it's just something that we are very mindful of and concerned about.
Over here.
Tasha Levinson, also on Oroville. I want to start out by saying I think the idea of using a former Superfund site is probably a very good idea for doing something like this. I want to congratulate you on that. I would like to see your map better marked with roads or something, or for example, orientation to Walmart or local landmarks so we have a better idea of what we're talking about. You may not be aware, but with the spillway disaster, we had all kinds of concrete and rocks. It would, it has kind of ended up just being dumped in, supposed to be a bird refuge area, other things like that. Sure like to see that all somehow coordinated so that these things get put to good use in a sensible way, and like materials get treated in a like manner that makes just good common sense. The other thing that we had from road in Oroville could use repaving, and that is something that should be thought of in your plans and for bringing it back to the way it was before. It really is something that has not been handled well so far and does need to be handled better. And then finally, if you could let your Superfund site. I saw that there was this 5-year inspection, September of this last year. Could not find the results, but couldn't see it. That should be more easily available. I'm not that illiterate, even though I am old and not so computer savvy. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
My name is Kathy. I've been okay, is this working? I've been a resident of Oroville for 20 years. First off, I appreciate the statements by FEMA and also our Congress, because I'm on Paradise Fire Adopt a Family. It's a Facebook group, and the last baby born in Paradise, which everyone knows about, her mother was posting they were going to be houseless in a few days. So we need FEMA to step up. As far as Lamont and Chuck Taylor's comments, you're not experts, so let's leave it to them. I have a prepared letter that I actually sent to all the county's City of Oroville Council and Board of Supervisors as well. Two important questions that I think aren't in my letter is how will this operation bring, which is always a nice coding on everything. If you look at the fire damage resource list and the consulting firms that are on it for this disaster, here's where the consulting firms come from: Pinole, Sioux City, Citrus Heights, Fair Oaks, San Francisco, Folsom, Sacramento. There's one office, the corporate office is in Kansas, and one office in San Francisco. Oroville is the city of Butte County. That definitely needs a pause there. It is vital that the debris not come to Oroville, as impact on the roadways will be detrimental to already congested roads. As the county seat, it is important that all road access remain free of impact. The proposal of 200 to 500 trucks hauling debris will not benefit the Oroville community. Many campfire survivors have relocated to Oroville, and the roadway Army Corps and possibly the groundwater. And I want it's very to create improvement of public health in Oroville. It is a community of the programs, investments are aimed to improve the and that causes climate change. From the toxins previously, now the Army Corps of Engineers proposed all the way out to across the we need to recover from. The information I see basically it's a business plan for disadvantaged communities. As far as on the same end, they are aiming to, and this project will increase it. Report states the site is approximately east of the Feather River and is located in the Feather River flood, would not be exposed to hazardous the case is, we're going to do better. Impact. Those sites could have impacts to cultural and historic resources that of this EA. In my opinion, to address the whole community of Oroville of your EA. And it is very near the Ranchera. In summary, I suggest that you can partner with Tehama County and transfer to Tehama County. There's a red line there, and there's less congested County, which is responsible for the emergency operations of all county. We have the sheriff here, we have CAL FIRE, we have the county buildings, we have and when they say they want in this document, it says they'll move it either by so right there conflict. So thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Norris Bice. I've been a resident here since 1988, and I work at I was also present and unloaded a majority of different items for the cleanup. Because of government report. And what you're trying to do to help the residents of the burn. We're right across the street, so we're concerned with the health and safety of our employees. Because as the crow flies, it's like 75 feet across the street. And they started excavating the ground. The city did nothing about it. It just was, pardon my language, worse than the sewage plant on Fifth Avenue. So that's what we're concerned with. Deal with that smell when it warms back up. So that's our is the health and safety of our employees. Secondly, I have to correct you. The only two ways, there's only, and that's a left turn off of Highway, and it's a left turn off of Oroville Road to come down. So with that said, the only thing is you're leaving it. It's all left turn to get in. So, with the, and I would like to say increased trucking since the sand plant across right there on for the old Louisiana Industrial Park. Nothing's been done with all their tax dollars that came to the city. Nothing's been done toward the city. And they and there's constant sand spills on the road. Who's going to rebuild? But the biggest thing that we're concerned about is the health and safety of the employees, the general community.
Yeah, I'm a lifetime resident of Paradise, and I lost my home in 45 years due to fire. I plan on doing my own cleanup. I think kind of
So this facility would just be utilized by govern the cleanup and where that material should go to.
Okay. Next, if I did my cleanup, is there somebody going to be inspecting? Is it his property clean?
So the county is going to be developing a program, and it's going to largely mirror the state's program, which will require you, the contractor, to and test to ensure that
Now, I am the contractor. I'm doing it.
okay, you'll be required to meet the hazmat certification requirements and be required.
I have to take the hazmat course.
You're not currently like this, you will.
See. Okay, well, that answers my questions.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Like the guy from Oroville, this Woodbury power plant has been mentioned. That's about 2 blocks from this. The dust from that site covered South Oroville and has swamp coolers, not air. Swamp coolers tend to pull in and into our lungs. My wife died of cancer, and I think that had a lot to do with it. When you talk to us about the EPA overlooking this thing, current state of the here in Oroville, we've had the Department of Water Resources telling us for decades how safe that dam is. We had people in front of our cemetery. We have various entities that come to town and lie to us. So when you sit here and tell us, don't worry about the dust. That's the best you can come up with. I'm not buying it.
We can't hear you.
Can you louder? Oh, it's coming. All right. Joyce Gonzalez. pretty much things that I'm going to say have already been said. I definitely have. It's still contaminated. It has to go through a filter system. There's no treatment. Action tower is only on the exit and not on the entrance. And huge trucks, tons of cement and metal, and so it's going to destroy our streets. It's going to, I mean, people go to work. I'm looking at the entrance here. No way those trucks, if they come as often as I don't see so we don't I want to pull the who lost at house people. So I don't want not in this meeting. So again, I worry about the air. I worry about how long this is going to take. 18 months, 2 years. I don't know. We don't know. But the impact is going to be very devastating to the people of Oroville. So I hopefully that is not in the middle of a town. Lots of land between here and there, and other. And I'm still really curious why the inspection tower is only on the way out and not on the way in.
That is not true. One is the way in, the first
Thank
one.
you, ma'am. I'm going to
This one
address
is the way out.
questions you brought up.
See?
Let
The one on the right is way in,
speak to
and the other one is
summarize some of the overall
done here.
mitigation measures you're going to here in
again, and this
in
the
every
way out.
meeting I'm in, whether it's the town of Paradise,
That way. Yes. But if you came from up
roads
there,
are always,
there's no entry
and
up
so
there.
your local officials are working to hold us accountable. But the process works. Need to be made to the roads. So it's in today, but we are reimbursing the local government for those costs after the cleanup. So that's something we are. Additionally, in terms of the days thereafter as the Army Corps demobilizes from the site.
So thank you for the questions, ma'am. One of the site selection criteria was to have and so towers, processing facilities. If we do this activities will serve or the idea is that our contractor will build an entrance at the top. I know there isn't an entrance in there now, but build an site. Some of the other things I want to highlight about the mitigation measures is we'll do baseline testing. So environmental, any vehicle or there. So and we all know that this has been a site that has been looked at. But our contractor will be responsible for doing. Again, we're working, and the California Department of Toxic Substances was a land use agreement there. So we'll do baseline testing, we'll do testing of the operation, and then test and compare against the baseline if something hasn't changed. Mediate any situation. So we're trying to measure any impact.
Ma'am?
I just want to go back to the last. Going back to the road.
You had to in the night.
I don't know what the main road is. Over road or whatever. But a lot of us will take this back way if you're going through town and stuff. So that and you think that it can withstand the heavy load. So that's one of my questions. Only 3 ways to my other question is, for the cement.
For the concrete site, for the steel, we on site, we won't shred it, just reconfigure it to smaller dimensions for shipping.
Okay, and that's another concern for me. Everybody who's listening to the dam, so that's a big concern. My other thing is I would like to know where the other you're looking into.
So the other sites that we looked into were included in the environmental. So there were over 50 sites that we looked at, and then the environmental assessment narrows it down to fewer sites.
There are several. The LZ site. So right now, addressed in the EA is this site, a reduced site at the same location. Right about where it says metal and which is
We are looking at a number of acquisitions around conditions. I don't have available, but
what she just said though.
So in this configuration. Over the last several weeks, we have gotten input from a number of local residents and local officials to also for processing. And so Cal is responsible for the overall looking at that we instead of
My other concern, whoever's run it back, scooping, basically picking that metal up by a magnet. You know, that you're laying up.
so on our soil, the community prior to our operation beginning, and then when we put a home site or residential site, we removed all the contaminants.
Test the air for the children.
And ma'am, we are testing the air. We test the air at the site where we're doing the stupid. That whole site right there, every inch of it is contaminated. It's going to remain contaminated. What needs to be done is it needs to be let. All of his friends that work with him, they all. You know why? I seen firsthand what those kids. Your guys' report. People are going to get sick again. You're going to see another round of cancer clusters and everything else.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. And by the way, what is failed inspection exit? What is that?
So, in the event that there's a truck that comes in that doesn't have clean material, and contact the state and let them know that there's material that was supposed to show up that did show up. So we're going to check each truck that have ash or any other material, steel and concrete. That's what failed.
The Corps of Engineers. Come on, man, you guys are supposed to be able. So you know what that tells me? Because let me tell you the same type of people. First, there's other shit out there you probably don't even know. I appreciate your comments, but no, you don't. Watch your language. Your attention, please step forward. Everybody else.
Rise and fall, and right now, Oroville in really lovely things happen. As many people have already spoken, who were poisoned like this area is at risk. We're at risk economically. Not a good, an already complex history. I don't see it's important, clean, and I believe this will put us back. It took us decades to clean up the mess and LP, and really the dust pollution. At night, because they're rebuilding the dam due to malfeasance. So I really feel this would be a step backwards and a danger for the health of our community. Please, please do not go ahead far away from several different considerations.
Yes, sir. We're helping people out right and left, coming together. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase. I got a beef with coppers. You guys keep calling it coppers. Who owns this thing?
I'm not sure we have that.
Are you guys just still calling it coppers? Or does Coppers Corporation out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania still own coppers? Mr. Reynolds say Butte County's not making a dime off this. They better not be making a dime. They still owe me and my it's been coppers forever. We still call it coppers. Does anybody know that?
Potentially enter into a lease if we decide to go.
And everybody, including Billy that spoke before, we live 2 houses. We others and father is the one that signed the paper up there. They didn't want to truck it out because it was going to be too hazardous to truck the soil disposal cells. I don't think is if you guys have it under control and there's not getting sick, there's nobody else going to be. Because like the woman that's upswing, you know.
Cruel thing to people. But on the other hand, and you guys are talking about the seems to be build a paradise. Right outside.
Spent most of my life here and out of town. I want to thank you all for being here up in Paradise. I got a few questions, specifically because this site's close to my home. And nephews that go to school down the street, a couple thousand. And you're honestly, I'm finished my degree in construction management. We crunch numbers like this all day. And your numbers, first of all, secondly, they conflict with the report. And I came in, process side. That's what it says that you handed out the front door. Is that correct?
Did you say hazardous or not?
When I saw this come across the I brought up the and just in the 3 to 4 months of debris would be processed. That's 4 times the amount than what you're telling the people at the
debris coming out of so
our initial was 3-4 million tons. We have recently had contractors go up into Paradise and Butte Creek and Concow and revise those numbers down. I think what's happened is those numbers haven't gotten to do the environmental. About 1.2 million tons of concrete.
that's one thing. At that, even at those numbers, you're using at 2 million tons, really close to 250 trucks that day. And I mean, we knew how many trucks were going up Laura Dam when the dam went down. They were, I don't even know how many. So I mean, that's a lot of trucks.
We've got.
I get it. So shooting and doing how contaminated the concrete was. They wouldn't let us over there. Wouldn't let and we just need to stay away from it. Because of the dioxin, because the creosote, because of all that. You've got a report that EPA showed me that says, hey, it's stable. You put it. I mean, that containment sites. I think the community's thinking, if you guys want to buy into that, maybe. And that's why, well, if we're going to bite the bullet and say, okay, come in here, use this site, then when you leave, you take dirt, free. When you leave, and
it's not based on knowledge.
permitted for all the companies. Why do you want to truck it to Oroville?
Sir,
Everybody from Army Corps to FEMA to Cal OES, and nobody will contact back. I have permission.
I will commit to you, sir. Okay, and then take a look at it.
One of my up there. So I hope you really, and we're supposed to work. How many people are going to be working here, you know, and where are they going to stay? Stuff. And so thank you.
Yes. Utilized. We also don't want to create a situation where we create stockpiles of material that can't be. And so we're looking at all those. We are looking at sites between here and Paradise. We end up doing with concrete and metal. Out of the area, they're going to be going north. They're going to be going south. The sheer magnitude of the station truck. 70, but we are looking to mitigate everything we can and utilize local operations to the extent we can without creating a bigger problem. I don't want to have a situation a year from now where I've got 6 people are upset about concrete that got left behind. So what we're attempting to do is get residents their properties back cleanly, in return a safe community back to all of you and everybody else in the county as well. So that's our goal. To the question you asked, we're going to we don't want to be taking now. We've got a base camp up in the county. Further.
Vice President of the NAA. And that area also on the about that cannot be hauled out over the opportunity coverage. You're not going to excavate, and that's a good thing. There is pointing out to everybody in that area, for instance, on the ground because oxen is there, and I know Water and Power District, they closed down all the wells in that area, and they put treated water lines in because of the contamination. So that is a very treacherous area right there, and I understand everybody's concern, and I think that has been taken advantage of. Because of all, and so I think and make sure it's clean, like the gentleman said, when this is all.
In that area, I see a lot.
House.
In that area, Harold, they're still digging on the far other side. Huge 1800. The powerhouse was there, which comes out. You can still, the bottom of the hill over there, and if you know where to dig, you can dig up bottles that the arsenic and the mercury came in. The county hospital, right? The in that dredger pond too. The old scrapyard, which is fairly off your map there, is horribly contaminated. Never has anything ever been done to maintenance. Is there any plans to do anything? And one other question, being this is being overdone, is it going to be overdone?
Well, we certainly can't speak to what's going to happen after we do all this on the site, in terms of what the future use of the site's going to
But it is open for development.
be. That would be the question.
Well, you're allowed to work in there, I'm assuming. And doing like they said. Now, if you water around there, I believe, is still doesn't but there my neighbor died, and he contributed to there. So if the water table's bad and the cells and you guys get work in there, I think it could be. Another thing is too, if I was to do this job, are you going to put up barriers to keep the wind from blowing stuff and everything?
One, we're not going to dig.
The red dirt, you're not familiar with this area. Red dirt's unforgiving. We compacted it to the best we could do. But you start going, but you're going to go deep. Your rule out there, anything past. So if you start running it up and start
build on top of that to mitigate any running, so the fabric will create. Come from a municipal utility, water trucks would be for dust abatement.
It's there. So how is it right for that to be used? Going to happen using that product? I mean, these people have been through that. I think everybody should try to make everything better. You guys, I've been to every. There's no guidance in trucking. It's out there all day. You're charging.
Sir, previously tonight, we're looking at all the options. We are looking at trucking it up. No. That is something we're looking at, but I will tell you, this same number of folks, if not greater, all of and that requires removal of the debris. Aggregate locations that we're looking at. We can't leave this other material in that area. We have to work to get all of Butte County cleaned up, and that's what our goal is, and we're looking at all the different options available to us, including what you.
So your biggest thing that you want is a spur.
Well, sir, if we have to transport.
You're looking at other spurs in other places.
We've looked at a number of different spurs.
heavy lift that's before us. Impact is the thing, whether it's real or imaginary, that are existing here tonight. And perceive other people that they look at this, then also, so I'm thinking right away of people like myself who the community is impacted by these, extenuating circumstances. And so life to property values, it impacts the businesses, and something that was said by Lieutenant Colonel earlier will return it back to the way it was. And that the cost of business, the cost of the quality of life, the cost to the potential future business, to future property value increases, all of those things are real impacts. And I think about litigation, when you go, and there's there's different types of damages that are listed when you get. And so my way was, but it should be left far better, because we've kind of taken it on the chin over the years from all the things we've heard here tonight without going back to the list. And of course, area and all the surrounding communities, but also Oroville is being directly impacted. We've given up a school. A lot of people have already talked about housing folks. I mean, there's a lot, and there's a lot of, sacrifices to be made. And so in moving better than it was, our roads fixed. And I think that if the government, the federal government, insurance, we're not just going to use you, abuse you, and leave, but that we're going to leave. If there was that kind of commitment, and then you do your heavy lifting, educating the public, and promise, because that's all these promises are, and accomplish that and give. By being wins, paradise wins, and that would be a good thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Within the 3-mile radius from that area, is one high school businesses all along there. If and I would just like be impacted. I just don't think this is a good plan.
Well, Oroville, Paradise is our backyard. And that's great. Oroville Dam as well. So we it doesn't need to be here crushing and polluting our air, and the Feather River natural feature. Everything will be processed on hard pan concrete. Well, most likely, okay, that's your intention. So, we are the county seat. Okay, where's Sheriff Cohen? You know, this is his hub here, and I think that. And take the time necessary to do an EA that does include the cultural heritage in Oroville. Okay. So please.
This operation here, this operation.
Back when efficient the truck 100,000 truckloads, how much diesel? And that's a big concern that I have.
And as I indicated,
and you process it where it lays and get to be there, and they can't escape it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And the idea of doing this, I have the first one is contaminated, and the other cell. If you're bringing in only metal and I see that, so those cells are already there.
Correct.
I think they don't hire local. And I understand they're good. From the very beginning, Oroville I really think to the stations working it here.
If we use this site, we appreciate your concern. So, and I think we've got time for one more.
So I
Keep dreaming.
Last question.
Hello, I'm Chris Saraga. I run a news. Town board, such as if the where they would who the and then lastly, future and tell everybody who owns now here, and I think you have
hiring local contractors. Strongly encourage contractors to utilize local contractors. All I can do is speak to you from my experience, especially last year. It has the ability to do cleanup. It has water. Virtually every we're buying gas here. Can't speak to where the gas up. We are right now taking advantage of Russia, and we certainly appreciate that. And primary Congressman.
It's educational and you provide for what people are really so, where is that made? First of all, the public comment that went in for finding significant impacts. And what is the environmental assessment? The 3 sites. So people would have a chance. So we received some comments. What's the website? Okay, we urge everybody to I think the South Oroville industrial area hold great potential for the in that neighborhood. It has the railroad spur, it has all weather access. Someone has I'd be happy to, 240 acres, you rent that from. You wouldn't have, you know, there's a lot is land where it's a willing receiver of what is certified as a clean.
So recently tell us that it's going to take to utilize all of the aggregates that we generated. And so our concern, and it is certainly something we'll talk about offline, because we've seen it happen where we begin to have folks that ask us, why is this disaster debris still sitting here in the community? So
if it's on someone's private quarry in a remote area, okay. I mean, no, I'm just asking, was that, is it a remote quarry area, they need, because I'm looking at this from a standpoint of, if we don't have to have trucks going to Oroville, or it would have been in Chico, instead if they're staying, you know, the east side of 99 and north, you know, west of 70, however you look at it, staying in that zone where on private, it's not, how is that any different than other quarry material? And so I just wonder what's the speed? That way, we've taken off the table here.
vast majority of not needing this to go out on a rail. Now, is the best way to hide tens of thousands of to concrete over how that's done. It seems like those take some of the concerns away. I would hope you'd look harder at coppers, having seen the situation here, because I think, you know, obviously the current concerns have been heard. Right road by, you know, but you have to weigh a lot of importance on this too. So very important to work through, again, more ideas. You know, what the rate.
As more information becomes available about this site and other locations, we'd like to be conveying that information out to you. So thank you.
Body of